On Monday, Buckingham Palace delivered some shocking news. King Charles's recent hospital stay to treat an enlarged prostate resulted in a new diagnosis: cancer. We know that it is not prostate cancer, but that is all we know. Now, that said, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said thankfully the disease was caught early. Buckingham Palace says the royal family are positive about King Charles's outlook, but it won't be business as usual. The king will step back from public appearances while undergoing treatment. And today, for the first time since the cancer diagnosis was disclosed, King Charles and his wife, Queen Camilla, were seen in public, reportedly on their way from their London residence to a retreat in the east of the country. The king's son, Prince Harry, is now in the UK to visit his father. He arrived from his home in California earlier today. Well, the past 24 hours have been intense for the royal family, to put it lightly, and for many across the UK as well. I'm happy tonight to welcome Richard Fitzwilliams. He's a royal commentator with whom we have spoken numerous times. Mr. Fitzwilliams, it's good to have you with us. We've spoken. There have been good occasions. This, of course, is not one of those positive occasions. But for a senior British royal to make public a diagnosis like this, it's unprecedented, isn't it?
It's totally unprecedented. I think it is a sign that every monarch makes, so to speak, their own, or creates their own image, creates a way of doing things. Because if you consider, looking back to the Queen's father, George VI, who died of lung cancer brought on by the stress, especially that of the war, and also over smoking. In those days, cancer was only mentioned, if at all, in a whisper. This is a completely different departure, and we saw an aspect of it, I think, that's very helpful for the King's subjects. And when he went into the London clinic, as you mentioned, for a benign enlarged prostate operation, and subsequently, when this was put in a statement from Buckingham Palace, the National Health Service website had huge numbers of hits, individuals, raises awareness in one sense. But of course, there's still the other issue, and that's the issue of privacy. The Princess of Wales was in hospital, also in a London clinic, for nearly a fortnight, and we know that she had underwent abdominal surgery, but she didn't wish more to be revealed, and we don't know what type of cancer the King has. So to some extent, this has changed. In another area, it's very important that members of the royal family have a large, or as large a degree of privacy as possible. Of course, at the moment, the King didn't appear at any functions, or wasn't seen to. This would have set alarm bells ringing. So they have been more open.
And he was seen today in public, which can be read as a good sign. But I'm sure a lot of people are asking, what if the worst happens now? What happens if the king becomes incapacitated? Mr. Fitzsimmons, do you know what happens if the king is suddenly or eventually unable to perform the duties of a monarch?
Well, yes, this has happened only once in our history, and that's the then Regency Act, which was updated in 1937, was invoked when George III became incapable, and it was 1811 for 9 years. And the Regency Act still means that, obviously, if a monarch is unable to perform their duties, then arrangements can be made. I mean, if, for example, through absence abroad or through ill health, the king was unable to carry on the functions of state, which he hopes to do. He's made it absolutely clear. He will be going through his red boxes, which contain the documents of state, signing bills into law. He'll be continuing to meet the Prime Minister. Regarding Privy Council meetings, there could perhaps be a problem there, because if you put quite a large number of people near an individual who's unwell and they have germs, that has to be taken into account. So the experience the royal family had with COVID that could be taken into account. But he hopes to continue the state duties. He won't, however, be participating in royal engagements for a while, and the Queen Camilla and also the Prince of Wales will be stepping in.
A lot has been written in the last 24 hours about this situation, and because cancer is what it is, it's really impossible to predict the future here with any degree of accuracy. But let me ask you, is abdication a possibility here? There are reports that even Prince William and his father have discussed that very process.
Well, the answer in theory, of course, is yes, because a monarch can abdicate. We've just seen this with Queen Margrethe of Denmark. Whether that was for the reason of her age and increasing infirmity, or whether she wished to give the monarchy a new lease of life, or indeed whether it had some link to reports about the King Frederick's private life, we don't know. But the facts are that Edward VIII abdicated in order to marry an American divorcee, Wallis Simpson. This haunted the royal family, certainly during the period of the Queen's rule. This was something, her uncle, this was very, very, or considered something, a dereliction of duty. I think that it's extremely unlikely, if you bear in mind that the Prince of Wales, as Prince of Wales, he was the longest serving one in our history. He's only been monarch for 17 or so months. Yeah. And the idea that this would be considered would be inconceivable. But of course, as you have pointed out, with cancer, you never know.
Yeah, that's a point. And the older you are, the greater the chance that cancer is unpredictable. Richard Fitzwilliams. Mr. Fitzwilliams, it's always good to talk with you. We appreciate your valuable insights tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
For more now on the medical angle of the King's diagnosis, I'm joined by Lawrence Young, a professor of molecular oncology at Warwick University Medical School. Professor, it's good to have you with us this evening. The Royal Palace, they're not disclosing what type of cancer King Charles has, but they're saying that the cancer was found when he was being treated for an enlarged prostate. So explain to our viewers what that might point to. When you're treating an enlarged prostate, what kind of cancers could you find?
It's not unusual to find so-called incidental cancers when you're treating a patient for something else and you come across a particular tumour. In this situation, it's difficult to speculate, given the fact that the king was being treated for an enlarged prostate. It could mean that there's another tumour somewhere in the urinary system, like in the bladder. It could be a kidney problem. It could even be something to do with his bowel. It's very difficult to know. But whatever's happening here, we know that he's being treated rapidly. The diagnosis was early. We know that obviously early diagnosis is the key to successful cancer treatment outcomes.
Yeah, I want to pick up on that. The Prime Minister says that the King's cancer was caught early. The royal family are saying that they're positive about this treatment. I mean, we don't know what kind of cancer the King has. We don't know what stage the cancer is in. So just these comments of it being caught early, what does that tell you?
It suggests that as this was a chance finding with no symptoms related to that particular condition, that it's likely that this is a very early tumour that has been either treated already, and there may well have been some minor surgical intervention to start with while the king was in hospital over the weekend, and now he's obviously having follow-up therapy. As I say, it's very difficult to speculate when we don't know the details, but the important thing for him is that this has been found early and that there's been no delay in him accessing appropriate therapy.
And you know, Professor, that a lot of people at home, when they hear this story, many people have been impacted personally by cancer. So, the first question is going to be, is this something that is going to be terminal for the king? I mean, are we talking about, is this something that's going to progress and move into stage 4? Is it going to metastasize, et cetera? What could Buckingham Palace let the public know to ease those concerns? Because everyone has them.
Yes, well, they're already stressing the fact this was early, and as you said, the Prime Minister in the UK has confirmed that this is early diagnosis of a cancer. We know that the earlier cancer is diagnosed, the more successful the outcome for therapy. So there's every likelihood that this will be successfully treated and eradicated. Obviously, we don't know the details of the therapy, but it sounds like he's having quite intensive therapy that started rapidly. And that's always the key to cancer: early detection, followed by therapy as rapidly as possible to make sure that you prevent the cancer from spreading further. But as I said earlier, it's quite difficult to speculate. We don't know the details.
The king was very public, very open with the fact that he had an enlarged prostate. They got a lot of people, a lot of men talking about this. He said he wanted men to realize how important it is to get early screening. Could you talk to us a little bit about what seems to be kind of an inexact science here when you're talking about PSA values, for example, in younger or middle-aged men? I mean, what should men be looking for as they approach the later years when you're talking about trying to keep a healthy prostate?
Yeah, so in terms of prostate cancer, of course, there is always an issue as you get older of prostate gland enlarging, and therefore the symptoms of an enlarged prostate and an inflamed prostate are very similar to those of early cancer detection. So that's things like increased urination or frequency, particularly at night. Sometimes men will find bits of blood in their urine. These are important signs and that mean you need to go and see a doctor as soon as possible. But the ultimate test is to have a scan and to have biopsies taken to check that your prostate is not cancerous but is enlarged. And this is a very, very, very common tumor as men get older. Most men can live and survive with prostate cancer. Actually, many men will live into old age and die with the cancer, not of the cancer. But early detection is very important because, of course, early detection means that you can eradicate the tumor. But this is a tumor that we can manage very well, actually. So in terms of prostate cancer, the important thing is early diagnosis and careful management.
It's good to hear. Professor Lawrence Young from Warwick University Medical School. Professor, we appreciate your time and your valuable insights tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.